The ceremony yesterday, of course, was for the dedication of a battalion plaque at the Australian War Memorial. The 2nd 16th Battalion, of course, has a fairly famous history, and you would have got a lot of coverage from it, so I think we could pass on from that. You'll have more than enough. So the ceremony was attended particularly by a large contingent from Western Australia, and consisting mainly of members of the 2nd 16th Battalion Association. The president was Bill, who spoke at the ceremony, and after the ceremony and after a tour of the Australian War Memorial, we had dinner at the Ainslie Football and Social Club. And at that dinner, Bill, the president, mentioned that history had a few errors in it, and he was seriously concerned to correct the errors and get the history right. Well, that reminded me of another fallacy in history, or just misreporting in history, and that was on our return. I belonged to the 2nd 16th Battalion. I was signaller in the original 2nd 16th Battalion. We went over to the Middle East and we had a campaign in the desert and up in Syria where I was wounded. And when we came back in a convoy after the Japanese had declared war, and I had my brothers on different ships coming back, and we didn't know where we were coming. We were heading back, and the myth is that Curtin and Churchill had a difference of opinion. The story is that Curtin insisted on the Australians coming back to Australia to defend Australia, and Churchill opposed that. The story goes that we came back to Australia from the Middle East. Well, actually, that wasn't the intention. We weren't ordered to come back to Australia at all. We left the Middle East in a convoy, and we sailed around the Indian Ocean between Ceylon and Malaysia. One of the boats that my brother was on, he was in the 2nd 3rd Machine Gunners, they landed and got ashore, but he was seriously wounded shortly after going ashore, and they took him back, and he was one of 4 of the 2nd 3rd Machine Gun Battalion to escape either death or capture in Malaysia. And I think we've got that part of the story fairly straight now. And what really happened, we circled around in a boat, a cargo vessel called the Kosciuszko, and I was on board signalling. I used to get the messages and pass the messages between the ships, but it was mainly in code. So none of us knew where we were, what we were doing, where we were going, and we were just cruising around, running short of food. We had very little to eat, and it was, mouldy kidneys when we got something to eat, and mouldy bread, and a bit of warm water to drink, which was a pretty coloured too. So we were in pretty bad straits out there, and they had to go back to refuel, so they went back to back to Ceylon. So we went to Ceylon and had a couple of days in Ceylon while they refueled and put in a bit of tucker. Anyway, they couldn't land us in Burma or Malaysia because the Japanese had taken control. So we came back to Fremantle, and we're waiting to outside near the wharf, waiting to tie up. And the wharfies there were saying, go back. You took our guns, and when we needed you, we don't want you back here. We didn't get much of a welcome. And then the authorities said that we would get a day's leave when we landed, and we get the 24 hours leave or so, and we wouldn't have time to go back to Kalgoorlie, where most of us came from Kalgoorlie. That was our hometown. So we were going to land us in Fremantle, not let us go home, and pick us on the boat and go around. So that was a part of the myth. What actually happened, of course, was we were a pretty rough crowd, and the word went around, well, what'll we take, 4 days or a week? So it was generally agreed that we'd, so a great swag of us went off and got home, and we all reported back eventually, and that's another story. And we eventually went back. The battalion went to Queensland for jungle training, and at that time, a few of them left. They brought in a new rule that elder brothers could claim their younger brothers, and so that they could be in the same unit. So my oldest brother claimed me, and I went into the Armoured Division, which our adjutant did too, by the way, of the 2nd 16th Battalion. Anyway, so that's basically the myth I wanted to tell you about. We should correct that history, Joy says.